deal with the issue as it relates to black people in America than when it starts creeping its way into the other ethnic groups, and eventually, we're all living in the martial law or whatever. Then people are going to wake up and it's going to be too late.
Well, that's why we're here, because we get it.
The system of white supremacy has a code of conduct. One of those codes of conduct is to support your own. Now, supporters of Darren Wilson may not view it as a view of supporting systematic white supremacy. However, we would look at the police force and how they operate, which is the actual oppression of black people in particular. And anything that the police force deals with is a part of that system of white supremacy. Therefore, you're supporting a police officer that you know unjustly killed a teen. You are thereby supporting a system that values white people as superior to all others. Because you're a supporter of the system of white supremacy doesn't necessarily put you in the same category as a Confederate flag waver or a Klansman. It just simply means that you were raised and you operate along the lines that white people are superior. Becoming politically active is definitely a first step. A city such as Ferguson, the people actually, I believe it's a city where the people have the ability to do recall elections. And so that being said, the people in Ferguson need to be about the business of conducting recalls for everybody. I know police, I know officers of the law. I know what type of training that they have to undergo in order to wear that badge. So under no circumstances is it necessary for a police officer to shoot an unarmed, even if it is a knife. But there's no reason to shoot a person who cannot attack you without being within close proximity to you 9 times. I counted 10 shots. I believe four of which took place after the gentleman had already hit the ground.
Yeah, 4.
So that being said, it's really the point that you brought up earlier. It doesn't seem to be anything more than a modern day lynching, to be quite honest. There was no reason for that man to be shot. Voting is a part of it. But even still, an economic base is a lot more important than a vote. I mean, if you control somebody's economy, you control their vote. So, being politically active is, yes, that's a good starting point. However, I feel as though where my people need to start is determining and establishing an economic base. Darren Wilson has an economic base to fall back on. Whether we hear from him ever again, the system of white supremacy, or should I say the police force where he is, will allow for him to simply be removed from the public eye, transferred someplace else, probably given paid administrative leave and things of that nature.
They didn't even file an adequate police report, and he's in hiding right now.
Exactly. Not all white people are supporters of the system of white supremacy. However, what we also have to take account for is the fact that we live in America. And every day we're inundated with images, video, things of that nature that tell us subconsciously black people are inferior. Now, historically, we know it's a farce. However, until we begin to deal with that in America, the system that leads us to subconsciously believe that white people are superior, whether we want to or not, we're always going to be divided along racial lines, and real issues will never get solved.
I gotta tell you one thing that I do, and they can't see me, but I'm white. If I see a black kid getting hassled on the street, I turn on my screen and I stand there. Because my presence might prevent things from getting out of hand. So it's a little bit complicated, because I know in that situation I have more power because I'm white, but I'm going to use it for good.
With this situation with Mike Brown, I disagree with you, because I think it's a tactic and a strategy, because with the amount of protests that have gone on, I think cops are more likely to think before they reach for that gun. And it's still going on, but I think the more people demonstrate, the more overall the system is starting to think about it. So strategy of more protests, I think is a positive. Would you agree?
I would agree, the strategy of more protests. I mean, yeah, of course. I just feel as though the protests themselves oftentimes should have more direction than just marching in the street. Unless marching in the street has some sort of some sort of goal at the end of it. For example, here we're going to be marching in Chinatown. Celine, spoke on before, Chinatown is a very heavily populated economic hub for the city. That being said, if you disrupt the economy of an economic hub, you essentially slow down progress in the rest of the city. It's something that people have to take note of. The Montgomery bus boycotts were as effective as they were because the city of Montgomery, Alabama was losing so much money that they had to just severely, just reconsider and redo how they operate.
One thing I don't want us to lose sight of is the connection between Alec, Stand Your Ground, and the fact that the police have shot Hispanic men right before this shooting in Anaheim, California. So it's more an issue of a police force going amok, than it's just simply a race issue. And we need to not lose that sight. It's much bigger than just that this was a black person. That's true in itself. But there is also Alec and Stand Your Ground. Stand Your Ground was used to justify why George Zimmerman shot Trayvon Martin. Now this guy comes along and he says, oh, he was tussling with me, he was fighting with me. So this is also Stand Your Ground as well. I'm hoping that this is the time when black people will become a lot more involved in the politics that surround them.
There are agitators, as my friend and I were running from the police at 8:30. There wasn't even a curfew yet. We were running from the police. I'm ahead of her. She's behind me. A white man runs toward her, punches her in the face, and says, "Sit the fuck down." So there are people that are out there that are trying to make this like black people are violent. We are just angry that an 18-year-old baby was left in the street for 4 hours. That's psychological violence.
Why are you out here today?
I'm out here to support the cause. I'm out here, I'm out here fighting the tragedy that happened in St. Louis. Just imagine if it was me, or my brother, or my sister, or any of my relatives in the community. Anything could happen to us any day, any hour, or any time, you know what I'm saying?
There's a lot of people who are saying, and it's coming from all sectors, not just the media, but other people, that the Ferguson issue is over. But I don't know. Y'all think it's over? No! It's over? No! I'm sorry, is it over? No! We fired up! We fired up! Can't take it no more! Can't take it no more!
What's going on in Ferguson right now is a political statement. Yeah. And the political statement is that they fired up, and what? They fired up. No more. So they're making a political statement.
We need to educate ourselves so we can start changing our spending habits. So we need to identify targets that we can hit in the pocketbooks so that our voices are amplified, because the only thing they understand in a gentrified nation is money, honey. All right? So in the words of We At Grail, do something. We stand to tell America it's time to end institutional racism. No justice. Help me. No justice. Help me. No justice. Help me.
Say move as a unit. Move as a unit. Move as a unit. Move as a unit. So we're going to move as a unit down 7th Street. We're going to take over one side of the street, and depending upon how things are moving, we want to shut down 7th and 8th, right? We want to shut that down. So what does that look like? We want to get down there and we want to form a big circle right there at 7th and 8th, and we want to shut it down. We want to stop all economic transactions that's going on.